Today, Rebecca officially becomes a Lee.
Stop! You can't adopt her father because I love her. She can never be my sister.
Rebecca sat in her new room, writing in her small notebook. She was still trying to understand everything that brought her here to Korea from Nigeria. The door opened softly. Lee Shin walked in, tall and handsome in a simple black shirt. He looked at her with a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It's time for dinner, my dear sister," he said. He forced the word sister like it tasted bitter in his mouth. Rebecca closed her notebook and stood up. "Okay, brother." They walked down the wide stairs together without saying another word. In the dining room, the big table was already set. Lee Shin's father sat at the head, his mother sat on his right. Rebecca and Lee Shin sat opposite each other. The father smiled warmly at Rebecca. "Welcome home again, Rebecca. Lee Shin, you must take good care of your younger sister from now on." Lee Shin nodded, but stayed quiet. The mother picked up her chopsticks and said, "She's not your biological daughter, you know." The father looked at her calmly. "I married her mother, who is now my ex-wife. That makes Rebecca my daughter." End of discussion. The mother laughed a little. "But she was a single mom when you met her." The father replied immediately, "You were also a single mom when we reunited again. We came back together after our divorce, and that is all that matters now." Rebecca looked down at her food. She felt small. Lee Shin was staring at her across the table, his eyes dark and unreadable. Mrs. Lee arrived at the Lee Group headquarters with her lawyer the next morning. She walked quickly through the lobby, her heels clicking loudly on the floor. She didn't look at the employees who bowed to her. She looked focused and angry. They entered her private office and closed the door. "Did you hear what happened at dinner last night?" Mrs. Lee asked. The lawyer, Mr. Park, opened his briefcase. "I heard the girl arrived from Nigeria. Is the chairman serious about keeping her in the house?" "He's doing more than just keeping her there," Mrs. Lee said, leaning forward. "He is calling her his daughter in front of everyone. He actually believes he owes that Nigerian woman something." Mr. Park adjusted his glasses. If the chairman recognizes her as his child, it could complicate the inheritance. Even if she isn't biological, his word carries weight in the family registry. Mrs. Lee hit the table with her hand. "That is exactly why I called you. Lee Shin is the only son. He is the rightful heir to this company. I didn't come back to this marriage just to watch a stranger take a piece of what belongs to my son." "What do you want to do?" the lawyer asked. "We need to find a way to limit her influence," she replied. "We need to make sure she stays as a guest and never becomes a legal part of this family. If Lee Shin has to share even 1% of this company with her, I will not be happy." Mr. Park nodded. "I will look into the papers from his marriage to the Nigerian woman. If there is no formal adoption, she has no legal claim." "Find anything you can," Mrs. Lee said. "My son is the future of Lee Group. This girl is just a mistake from his past that I intend to fix." Lee Shin's graduation gala was fast approaching, and his father ordered him to take Rebecca to a private showroom to pick out a dress. Throughout the car ride, Lee Shin completely ignored her. Rebecca tried to ask him about the event, but her attempts to talk were met with cold silence as he kept his AirPods in. At the showroom, Rebecca came out in her first dress, a bright, flashy gown. Lee Shin didn't even look up from his tablet, muttering that she looked like she was trying too hard to belong. After several more rejections, Rebecca finally stepped out in a simple, elegant forest green silk dress. The room went quiet. This time, Lee Shin actually looked up, and for a moment, he couldn't find anything mean to say. He was caught off guard by how beautiful she looked. "Is this one also too much?" she asked, her voice shaking with frustration. Lee Shin quickly looked away, hiding his reaction. "It's acceptable," he snapped, standing up to pay. He hurried out to the car without waiting for her, annoyed that he had actually been impressed. Later that night, Mrs. Lee learned about the shopping trip and marched into her son's room. I heard you were playing the doting brother today, she said, her voice tight with anger. I want you to stop. No more kindness and no more helping her. Treat her like a stranger. Lee Shin stood up. Father gave an order, Mummy. Would you prefer I started a fight with him? I don't care about his orders, she snapped. If you keep being nice, she'll start thinking she belongs here. Do not show her any form of kindness. Lee Shin looked at his mother. I'm not a child, and I'm definitely not her friend. You don't need to remind me to protect my inheritance every hour. Then prove it at the gala, she challenged. I'll handle Rebecca my own way, Lee Shin replied. But don't come into my room telling me how to act, Mummy. I know exactly what I'm doing. Seeing the hard look in his eyes, Mrs. Lee realized he wasn't going to be pushed around. She turned and left, leaving Lee Shin alone in the silence. He was tired of being caught between his parents' war. The gala was in full swing by the time Rebecca arrived. As his mother had wished, Lee Shin had left the house much earlier to avoid arriving with her. The chairman, looking proud, found them both near the center of the hall. He pulled them toward a group of his business associates. Everyone, I'd like you to meet my son, Lee Shin, and my daughter Rebecca, he said. He stayed for a few minutes to make introductions before being pulled away to handle an urgent matter, leaving Lee Shin and Rebecca standing awkwardly together. Before they could say a word to each other, a waitress walking past suddenly stumbled. It looked like an accident, but she leaned in just enough to pour a full glass of red wine directly onto Rebecca's dress. Shaken by the stares of the guests, Rebecca turned and ran toward a quiet hallway. Lee Shin grabbed some napkins and followed her. Stop, he said, dabbing the dress himself. You're going to ruin the fabric if you rub it like that. What is the meaning of this? A sharp, feminine voice cut through the air. Standing at the end of the hallway was Jisoo, a wealthy family friend who had just returned to Korea specifically for Lee Shin's graduation. She was dressed in a stunning gown and looked at the scene with a mix of shock and jealousy. She's just a friend, he replied. It was an accident. Rebecca looked at him, hurt by his words. Jisoo glared at Rebecca's ruined dress and walked away in a rage to find Mrs. Lee. Lee Shin dropped the napkins and walked off in the opposite direction, leaving Rebecca alone in the dark hallway. Jisoo found Mrs. Lee in a quiet corner of the hall. Mrs. Lee smiled, happy to see her. Jisoo, you're back! Have you seen Lee Shin yet? Jisoo's expression was sour. I saw him. He was busy flirting with some friend in the hallway, helping her with a stained dress. She described Rebecca's appearance with a sneer. Mrs. Lee laughed. It's good he called her a friend. She can never be his sister, even if we have to pretend for now. As they spoke, the waitress who had spilled the wine on Rebecca approached them. Mrs. Lee handed her a small envelope. A work well done, the mother whispered. Suddenly, Lee Shin stepped out from behind. He had seen the exchange and the envelope. His eyes were cold with realization as he looked at his mother. Without saying a word, he turned and walked away. Mrs. Lee watched him go and sighed, turning back to Jisoo. I do everything for that boy's future, but he never seems to understand. Lee Shin and Jisoo were on a date organized by their parents to strengthen the bond between the two families. Lee Shin hated the idea, but stayed for the sake of the family business, while Jisoo was glowing, having finally gotten the private time she always wanted. Across town, Rebecca had spent the afternoon searching for a Nigerian grocery store. As night fell, she found herself lost in a chaotic district. Her phone had died, leaving her stranded until she found a public phone and dialed the only number she had memorized, Lee Shin's. At the restaurant, Lee Shin's phone buzzed. After a quick, tense call, he stood up abruptly. I have to go, he said, ignoring Jisoo's protests. Fuming, Jisoo followed him in her car. Lee Shin eventually found Rebecca standing. She looked small and out of place. He approached her, his frustration melting into a strange sense of relief. I told you not to wander off, he said, reaching out to grab her arm to lead her to the car. Lee Shin, so this is why you left me? Jisoo's voice shrieked as she appeared from the shadows. Before anyone could react, she lunged and grabbed Rebecca. You pathetic loser! She screamed. You ruined my night for this? Who do you think you are, calling him away from me? Rebecca didn't flinch. She grabbed Jisoo's wrist. Let go of me, Rebecca warned in a low, dangerous voice. Now! Lee Shin stepped in, forcefully prying Jisoo's hand away. Have you lost your mind? Lee Shin's voice was like ice. She's just a nobody, Shin. Why are you choosing her over me? Jisoo cried. She's with me, Lee Shin replied. If you ever touch her again, I'll make sure we never meet again. Go home. He grabbed Rebecca's hand and led her to his car, leaving a humiliated Jisoo standing alone in the street. Mrs. Lee and Jisoo were having a great time at the spa, relaxing while having their pedicures done. Despite the peaceful atmosphere, Jisoo couldn't hide her frustration. He chose her over me in public, Auntie, Jisoo hissed. He actually stood in front of her. I think he's starting to care about that girl more than he should. Mrs. Lee didn't even open her eyes. He's just being stubborn because of his father, Jisoo. Don't worry, I'll handle her, Mrs. Lee assured her. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was Lawyer Park. She signaled the staff to pause and go away, and she answered. Madam, the lawyer's voice was low and serious. I found Rebecca's birth certificate. There is a massive discrepancy. She is listed under a completely different woman's name. She isn't the ex-wife's biological daughter. A cold, victorious smile spread across Mrs. Lee's face. So, she's an imposter. We don't know who she is yet, or who her real mother is, the lawyer replied. The connection to the ex-wife is still a mystery. Keep investigating, Mrs. Lee ordered. I want to know exactly who her real parents are. Dig until you find the truth. We aren't going to the chairman yet. We wait until we have the full evidence to prove she's a fraud. I want to be the one to hand him the truth that destroys her. She hung up and leaned back, looking completely satisfied. Is there news? Jisoo asked, leaning in. Better than news, Jisoo. We just found the key to making sure that girl disappears forever. For now, let her play her part.